Welcome to Primetime Mitch. It's the month of June I'm looking back on now, and this is my monthly top 5 picks. Now, obviously, remember, this isn't June releases, this is just movies I've watched in the month of June. I enjoyed doing the May video last time around, so this is going to be something I'd like to do for the rest of the year. If you'd like to help me on this channel and continue my progression, I would be very grateful if you could hit a like and a subscribe down below, hit that notification bell so you get up to date with anything new that I put out in the next few weeks. So I refer to my letterbox for this list. I've seen 21 movies, I think, in the month of June. It's probably the most I've seen for quite some time, actually, in one month. And I've got a lot to pick from. There hasn't been anything massively stand out this time around. Last month, I had Final Destination Bloodlines and the likes of, so it was quite an easy choice. This one took some thinking. There's quite a lot of 3 stars in there. If you'd like to follow me on Letterboxd, I have a lot of reviews on there. I try to describe and explain every rating I gave as best I can. Yeah, drop me a follow on there. I'm always updating it every day with some of the most obscure titles because I do like to have a little bit of variety. So coming in at number 5, without further ado, is The Empty Man from 2020. I deliberated over this one because at the time I was like, I've seen horrors like this so many times before. They look very nice. They're very polished. There's a lot of sort of almost fever dream sequences going on in them. I watched a film called Control Freak not long ago, and that was very similar, and I wasn't overly enamored by that. There is something about this one, I think, that makes it stand out. And the reason I put it in at number 5 is because it did stick with me for a little bit. I was trying to think about it and understand it. And I think when you have a movie like that, you create sort of a cult following, which apparently it has now. A lot of the weaknesses it once had are now seen as sort of strengths. The slow burn pace, the ambiguous ending, and it gets people talking. I think if you have a movie that gets people talking, you've sort of done the job there. It doesn't really always have to be a bad thing that there is some negatives attached to it. It was initially given a negative response. People seem to have swung on it over time the more it's been analysed. So the reason it's made my top 5 is simply that I did actually enjoy the experience. It probably was a little bit long. It didn't need to drag out for so long, but it was an interesting journey. I thought the opening scene especially was very interesting. And my son introduced me to this movie, and it's made the top 5 just because nothing else is going to tell me it's worthy of going above it. Coming in at number 4 is going to be The Stepfather from 1987. It took me way too long to watch this movie. This was always on my radar as being one of those classic horrors from when I was a kid that used to appear on TV specials and things like that. And I would see the VHS when we went out to rent. And I was always really interested in it and never got a chance to see it. Upon watching, I loved Terry O'Quinn's performance in this movie. He has that perfect, loving family man. I said to Amy, actually, that he has a voice that's very sort of Alan Alderish. It's sort of quite soothing and comedic, everyday guy. The complete switch of his personality when things aren't going his way and he's not getting the life that he wants and things are interfering and trying to stop this perfect picket fence life that he wants is wonderful. And I love the addition of the whistled Camptown races as a bit of an identity for the movie that's lasted over time. The opening scene's pretty horrific in a sort of calm, twisted manner as well. And I just think it's a solid movie. It's very TV movie. It's a bit like Hand That Rocks the Cradle kind of look to it. But I like that. I think they always look a little bit more sinister. The second was okay as a movie. The third really wasn't up to much, especially with the lead actor going. So The Stepfather gets number 4 in the list purely because it's a really underrated 80s horror, I think, and it's worth revisiting at any point. In at number 3, 28 Days Later. I am a huge fan of this movie. Again, I spoke in the previous entry about low budget look being something I'm a big fan of. Obviously not to absolute extremes. I don't want it like filmed on your phone kind of thing unless we're looking at found footage. But this movie, again, it has that feel of, certainly from my perspective, it felt like a British soap opera or an episode of Casualty, or I even went as far as to say it almost reminded me of the look of some of the public information films that terrified us as kids. So I really like the look of this movie. I think less is more, obviously something I'm a big advocate for. This has it, certainly in the opening scenes. The empty London scene is incredible. I think that's so powerful and so impressive. And to me, one of the scariest scenes in a movie ever, when he goes into the church and he says hello, and then the two infected sit up and look at him.
Hello?
That absolutely put the hairs up on my arm. So I'm a big fan of this movie. It flows very well. It carries on, never goes off on a tangent, never gets silly, never gets unbelievable really to any extent that's going to damage it. And I like the finish as well, the surprisingly upbeat finish. So yeah, big fan of 28 Days Later. Sequels, not so much, particularly the recent one. But yeah, that to me, that one stands the test of time amazingly, despite how it looks, and remains one of the best zombie horrors of recent years, if not of all time. Coming in at runner-up for movies watched in this month, it's this year's Dangerous Animals. I didn't really know what to expect from this movie. If you check out my channel listings, there is a full review on this where I discuss it in depth. I really appreciate any views on that. It's certainly one I enjoyed talking about because I enjoyed the movie. It was a fun experience. I went to watch this a bit later than everybody else, but when I did, I just went in there with absolutely no expectations. I'm not comparing it to Jaws or anything like that. As soon as the people see sharks now, they think there's a bar you've got to reach. As long as it is somewhat realistic and somewhat entertaining, I'm okay with it. This movie did a great job, I think, of giving us something just a little bit different. It's not the sharks this time, it's the humans, 100%. They are literally just a weapon in all of this, used by a very twisted character, played excellently by Jai Courtney, who really has a resurgence in this movie. I think Hasse Harrison's fantastic as a final girl. It has a lot going for it, this movie. It would have been top spot had I not had a bit of a think earlier this morning about what I thought was a better, more gripping experience. I enjoyed this movie a lot. It was a lot of fun. It just misses out. But please check out my review on this if you want to know a little bit more about my thoughts on this one. And coming in at number one, a little bit of a swerve. Didn't expect this one really. Again, I had to think about it this morning, but this is 2007's Atonement. Amy introduced me to this one. Again, it was one that I'd sort of had on the radar and thought about watching. I'd always skipped over it on the streams. I'd always seen it in the shops and thought, should I? But I never did. And I kind of wish I had really, because it's a really powerful movie. There's a lot in this to sort of decipher, but it's more the way it looks is absolutely stunning. The beach scene is a masterpiece really in filmmaking, in visuals and cinematography, whatever you want to praise in that scene, it has it. The performance of James McAvoy is very, very good. Although I don't think we see quite enough of his character. Maybe, again, that's something this movie leaves for you to discuss yourself. Keira Knightley is, again, very impressive in this. This is sort of her role, really. It's almost Pride and Prejudice as soon as she steps foot on the screen. But there is a bit more depth in this one in terms of what is about to happen to her and what she has to go through. It does take you on a bit of an emotional journey. I do think that there are open ends in this and some justice I wish had been dealt out, particularly to Benedict Cumberbatch, who is a prick in this, but it really kept me invested. And then the end is a huge tonal shift that actually works really well for it. It shocks you to the point of, oh my God, because you've been in this period of time for the entire movie and then suddenly you're back now. And it's a shock to the system, but I think it works well, and it's nice to see Vanessa Redgrave in a role as well in this movie. I thought this was a really gripping film. I wanted to see what happened. I was very interested in it, and it's more how it got hold of me that's put it above Dangerous Animals for number one this month. But yeah, go check out Atonement, because it's very dark, quite sad, but it really does hold on to you and make you realize that it just isn't worth being jealous. That is my top 5 for June. I've watched a lot this month. I intend to do the same in July, and then I can bring you the same for that month when the time comes around. But thank you guys for watching. I don't know what you've watched this month. Let me know what your top 5 watches for this month are in the comments down below. You can also speak to me on social media. Tell me what you think of the content, what you'd like to see. I'm looking at doing something regarding memberships and Patreon soon. I'm also looking at doing a live. All of that is in the works. I just need to move house before I can do all of that. But I really appreciate the initial support I've had for Primetime Mitch so far, and let's keep it going. Hit those buttons, share, comment, and subscribe, and thank you guys, and I will see you for another one of these monthly watches next month. I will see you very soon for all of the content. This has been Primetime Mitch.